that.
Thank you, everybody.
I wish I could tell you the real stories. Holy shit.
Vince's dad didn't want him to succeed in buying the business.
And if I miss a payment, then you get the business back. That appealed to my dad. Now they're thinking, his kid's not gonna make it.
Vince's dad didn't want him to take over the
My
territories.
dad, he then worked for me, and I knew he didn't want what I wanted. So my dad was very much against that.
Vince wasn't too interested in Bob Backlund as the face of the company.
He was the all-American boy, but a little too milquetoast. I was looking for someone that had more charisma.
Vince allegedly implicitly authorized the beating of John Stossel.
He said, I wish somebody would do something with that guy. He said, I wish someone would take care of that guy.
Awesome.
Hulk Hogan made a presenter pass out live on air.
Brought him over and I just lifted him in a front chin lock. When I let him go, he fell and hit his head.
He hit his head when he fell, and it was bleeding. This was not good.
The wrestlers used to work 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year.
We wrestle 7 days a week. I don't know if people knew that or not.
I just wish they'd give me just a few more days off a year.
You wrestled hurt all the time, and the injuries got worse and worse and worse.
Wrestlers as a group were often exploited.
Hulk Hogan snitched on Jesse Ventura forming a union.
There was definitely a need for a union in wrestling.
Jesse was trying to start a union and undermine Vince and says, hey, Jesse's stirring shit up, man. You know, he's trying to start a union here. And
Hulk Hogan stooged him out.
Hogan ratted him out.
WWE lied about having 93,000 in attendance at WrestleMania
3
3.
years, they probably all believe it at this point.
93,000 people.
92,173 people.
For 93,000 in that building.
Yeah, it was actually 78,000 in the building.
Vince and Hulk Hogan wrote and produced a movie called No Holds Barred.
So Terry and I decided, well, all right, then we'll go write a movie.
Basically, Vince and I spending 2.5 days in a hotel room writing the whole script.
It wasn't great.
What's that smell?
Vince tried to create a bodybuilding federation.
And we had just started the WBF, the World Bodybuilding Federation.
It's the bodybuilders to perform various routines and add a lot of entertainment value to it. So I said, well, let's fold this.
Vince told Hulk Hogan to come clean about his steroid use.
My suggestion to him is to come clean. That's not what happened. Just tell the truth. It's so much easier.
I myself injected him personally.
You know, that was one of the worst decisions I ever made, was not listening to Vince.
Ring Boys scandal.
These ring boys were underage.
That preyed on young boys.
An executive in Connecticut. And Pat Patterson, what a McMahon.
He would grab my pecker. Yeah.
McMahon insists it's all just a conspiracy.
Vince believes the Rita Marie situation was consensual.
You're accused of this and accused of that, and it's like there's this deluge that never happened.
If I wanted a $500,000 a year contract, I had to satisfy him.
But
and if
it was consensual, and actually, the statute of limitations had run out.
Hulk Hogan told Vince he wouldn't go to a competitor.
I actually told Vince, I will never run against you.
But I do want my release, but you're not going to compete. Gave him his release, and next thing you know, he's with the other guys. It broke my heart, you know, I mean.
That was taboo in my book.
Shady practices during the steroids trial.
Guilty, but there are rumors and reports about everything Vince's team did to try to win. Contacting witnesses of payoffs, jury tampering.
Vince was worried about WCW.
That was like, ooh, we're in trouble. I was going to put us out of business, quite frankly. Wow, it's brutal. Because
Vince allowed the curtain call.
The night, and Vince agrees to something can happen.
It is, and he says, all right, then it's important to me. Go ahead. Was I talked into this? Was I not? You know, I let it happen.
Vince knew Bret Hart would hit him backstage after the Montreal Screwjob.
I leave the room because I don't want to watch Vince get punched.
And we actually tied up like a wrestling match. He was out cold like a starfish.
Vince had, you know, big, nice shiner.
Shane was heavily involved in closing the deal with Mike Tyson.
And Shane McMahon was heavily involved.
One of the big personality, you know, someone extremely identifiable to be a part of WrestleMania.
Vince thinks he's nothing like his character.
And what similarities do you share with Mr. McMahon?
None whatsoever.
Mr. McMahon is an extension of Vince McMahon.
Exactly the same person.
It's really just Vince.
Vince sees only green.
He was always about, I don't care what color you are. As long as you are drawing money, you will be champion.
It's not racism, it's business. He see only green.
Bret Hart thought they offed Owen to get to him.
Because I kept thinking that maybe they murdered him to get back to me.
Vince allegedly suffered sexual abuse from his mom.
The physical abuse that he suffered at the hands of his stepfather alluded to sexual abuse he implied was at the hands of his mother.
There's fighting, there's infighting, there's incest. When you're getting the crap beat out of you, once he stops, if you're still breathing, you're still living, you win.
Shane didn't like that Steph was dating Triple H.
Shane was very much against it, vehemently so.
Storylines 101, don't date the boss's daughter.
Vince seriously suggested Steph and Triple H have their wedding on pay-per-view.
He seriously suggests to us holding it on pay-per-view.
Stephanie and Paul's wedding was live on pay-per-view. Wow. And Steph said, no.
Vince books Vince versus Steph 6 days before our legitimate wedding. What the hell kind of family did I marry into?
Linda handled the business side when they first started.
Linda handled the business. Vince handled the creative and the vision.
Shane didn't like the Vince and Trish Stratus storyline.
You know, my mom's kind of sacred to me, so I didn't quite like that one.
Shane is a bit more conservative than the rest of us.
Vince gets amnesia about Sable.
Yeah, I don't remember much about Sable in terms of a lawsuit. It's kind of a blur, but all I know is she came back to work, so.
The XFL got the lowest ratings in history.
He's taking his marketing genius from the ring to the gridiron.
The lowest ratings in the history of American primetime television.
The Rock v Hulk Hogan face-off at WrestleMania 18 was not planned.
Right. That wasn't rehearsed. That wasn't talked about. Those were two legends knowing to do that in the heat of the moment.
Shane wanted them to invest in the UFC, but Vince vetoed it.
I thought we could really grow that brand. And we have all of it, you know, just ready to go. So to me, it was plug and play. He thought about it and passed.
So if that's the way, Shane, you take your money and put it in, you know, which...
Shane left to save his relationship with Vince.
I can either stay in here and watch us implode. I'm not gonna jeopardize that. So I decided to step away.
Stone Cold Steve Austin doesn't believe in CTE.
Got dropped on my head one time. I got concussed there. If you were just wrestling and you got a bunch of concussions, you're probably doing something wrong. Just don't believe in it.
CTE is a disease you can see very clearly under a microscope.
Vince referred to Undertaker's concussion as psychological shock.
I think he was in some sort of a psychological shock.
5-10 minutes into that match, I get concussed. I can't, to this day, recall being in that match.
Just didn't remember any of that because it was so traumatic for him.
All Shane ever wanted was Vince's respect.
I was very proud for Shane of that match.
I got a hug that night.
He said, that's all I ever wanted was your respect. A very personal moment.
Had to earn that one. Yes, sir.